Hello, I'm Kathy Peterson, a volunteer with the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. You are watching Business Connection, a program produced by the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce. And you can see I have a big smile on my face because we have such an exciting group here today. We've had a lot of laughs, and we've been talking about a really exciting project that our community is right in the middle of. Our guests today are Tim Cambich, Executive Director, Dayton Metro Library. We also have Belinda Stenson from the Dayton Area Chamber of Commerce, Adrian Taylor, also from the Chamber, and we have Chris Hopper of Skanska. So welcome to all of you. We have such an exciting show for you, and I'm sure that many of you have heard about what's been going on, but in 2012, voters approved Issue 70, a $187 million bond issue to fund a system-wide construction and renovation project for the Dayton Metro Library System. Tim, can you give us a brief update on the project thus far?
I'm glad you shared the background about the project, because that bond issue really is making all these projects possible, and it's the voters that approve that with a 62% passage rate that really made this all possible. Since we passed in November of 2012, we've had to do a lot of the planning that goes into making these buildings possible, and the first step was for us to actually go out and sell the bonds so that we can actually have the funds to actually expend for these projects. We are doing a lot of the planning on our first segment. The first segment has 5 projects in it. The first of those projects that we actually have gotten under construction with our Old North Dayton branch, which we are looking to finish before the end of the year. And so that's a renovation of the E.C. Doran branch. We have other branch projects that are deep in the planning process in terms of the details, working with the architectural firms, and that we are hoping to put those out to bid before the end of the year. The other major project is the downtown library. It is one that's going to take a couple years before we'll be able to open that up yet, but it'll be one that is going to be certainly the hallmark of this whole project is what we're really doing with this main library. We're real excited about bringing people downtown in a new way that there is not a similar kind of venue for downtown Dayton than what we will have with this new project there. So we've got that. We're still doing the planning on that. We're really hoping to be able to start doing the bidding on that yet this year. And while the other projects will be in full force construction by the end of the year, we'll just be starting that project at the end of the year.
Wow. What's the timeline of what's going to be happening, say, in the next couple of years with some of the other buildings?
The first projects, the first 5 projects are the ones that I've listed, and we also are looking to set up an operations center. We've bought the old Hauer Music Building, which used to be the Sax Pruden Brewery Company, built in 1883, that we're going to turn into a back office operations center for our sorting of materials between branches, the IT department, our training offices, central supplies and receiving, catalogers. All that is going to be moved out of the main library and moved over to the old Howard building. And so that's a 5th project that we're actually in the middle of the planning on right now. Once we get all of these pretty well underway in terms of the actual construction end of that, we're going to be looking at the design of our second of 4 segments, because this project really is going to allow us to do 17 different projects over the next 4 years. And so we are looking to take multiple branches that are going to be replacements and get those started in the next segment. We have some branches that we're going to do some renovations with, and so we have 4 or 5 branches in the next 3 different segments coming up. We have a really aggressive schedule in terms of how we want to be able to design and deliver these to the residents, and are looking to finish them up in late 2017, if not 2018.
Wow, and that will be here before you know it.
The first year and a half that we've been in the progress of this project have gone really, really fast as we've been trying to do all the planning, because one of the things that we're doing with these projects that is one of the more important things that I've been trying to share with the communities is that we are taking these projects as not just taking our current libraries, sticking them on a photocopier and hitting the 150% button on them. What we really are doing is looking at new ways in which people want to use libraries. The way in which people want to come together to communicate, to collaborate, to create are things that libraries are now doing more and more. So while collections of books and media are really going to continually be important parts of what libraries offer, it is these other aspects of what libraries can offer that is really the exciting part.
Because all of us grew up going to the library,
Right.
and I still enjoy going to the library, even with all the technology that we have. I'm a book person, and I still like to have that book in my hand and be able to read it. And it always seemed like the library is just a gathering place too, you know, like you mentioned. So it's such a big part of the community.
Your story is so similar to the hundreds of stories that I've heard over the last couple of years from individuals that are involved with the project, people that just came to some of our public meetings about what their memories were of using libraries in their youth, and individual libraries such as the E.C. Dorn branch, even at our first nail ceremony kicking off the construction of that, hearing from people who had used that branch as a child and are really looking forward to that coming back to life again.
You talked about some of the community input. You know, how are you communicating with the community on, you know, timeline and what they're going to see? And even, you know, before the levy was on the ballot, you did a lot of community engagement.
Right, because we really wanted to make sure that people understood what the outcomes that we were looking for, because we were looking to have larger branches. We can't put larger branches in every neighborhood. So we've taken a number of different neighborhoods. We've merged their service areas together. We're going to be building, like in our Northwest branch, which is one of the projects in Segment 1, the old Fairview High School site is going to be a site of a new library that's going to be over 30,000 square feet. It's replacing 3 tiny branches that are about a mile away from that site that are all about 5,000 square feet. So you look at that and you can just see that when you walk into this new branch, once that opens, it is going to be a larger collection. There's going to be more staff and that is going to be there to help them. There are more computers, but it is really the fact that we are adding these other elements, such as the meeting spaces. We intend to have at least one recording studio in that branch so that kids can do a recording, come up with their own audio recordings, and we plan to have multiple meeting rooms of various sizes for groups to come and simultaneously be using that space for what they want to use the library for, not just one big room where everybody has to have the same kind of decorum. So it's there's just so many different ways in which these branches will be wonderful assets to the community.
Absolutely. The Human Relations Council, Montgomery County, and the Dayton Chamber MVP worked with the library and Skanska to establish targets and goals for the community inclusion policy. What are some of the key goals? And we'll get to Belinda, Adrian, and Chris to talk about this, you know, the goals and initiatives for this project, and tell us why these goals are important.
I think it's very important. Tim said the community was involved from the beginning, and this component has really engaged the community. Katie Crosby from the Human Relations Council, Eric Collins from Montgomery County, Commissioner Foley, Commissioner Joseph. They were all at the table with Adrian and myself. When we approached Tim, we said, let's talk about inclusion goals. And I remember it as if it were yesterday. Tim looked at us, he stared at us, and we started to share with him what this project was about, including all of our community resources. And he took note after note after note, and then he finally paused and he said, please understand, in the 15 years I've been here, I've never built anything, so this is all new to me. After that meeting, the inclusion goals, we talked about it. Skanska, who we've worked with in the past, they're one of the Minority Business Partnership committed buying organizations. We all sat around the table and we talked about how do we engage all of the community? How do we engage minority businesses? How do we engage women-owned businesses? How do we engage local Montgomery County businesses? How do we engage our larger region, the 9 counties that we work with? How do we include them in this project? So that's really exciting for all of us as well.
It is. Adrian.
Well, it's in the room, the synergy from all the companies. I think when you mentioned the county and you mentioned the HRC, or the Minority Business Assistance Center with David Lytle, there was no conflict. Everybody was on one page, understanding that with something as magnificent and as massive as this project, 4 years, you said, 17 different projects within itself, that we wanted to make sure that the buildings that are being built in the community are being built by people who live in the community. And that was the focus. And bringing in Chris and his team with ATCS, I think we all wanted to make sure and ensure that this huge project that the entire city of Dayton is going to benefit from in Montgomery County is being built by the people that live there.
A project for the community, by the community.
Right.
I
Excellent.
love that.
Excellent.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is very exciting. Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, just to echo what Belinda said, I think just the energy in that room and the collaboration between everybody and the key partnerships that we've all had. This isn't something that we could have just started last week or even last year and had success in. I think this is something that's been evolving over time, and our key partnerships and the successes we've had in the past for years on projects we've done before this. I think that's going to help make sure that the subcontractors and the community that are going to build these facilities, they're informed and they're engaged and they know who we are. So that's something we're excited about. I think somebody also mentioned doubling down on the bond fund. Not only are the libraries getting an upgrade, but the funds are going back into the local community, and that's exciting to be part of that as well.
It is.
Absolutely.
Chris, we know that Skanska built the award-winning Miami Valley Hospital Tower, which provided a lot of challenges and opportunities. What unique challenges and/or opportunities have you encountered, or do you anticipate for Segment 1?
Well, so as Tim mentioned, Segment 1 has five different projects associated with it, and each one brings its own challenges. 2 of the projects are historic renovations. EC Doran was built in 1927, and then the Howard Building all the way back in 1883. So anytime you enter a renovation of a historic building, you need to be able to prepare for any unforeseen conditions of renovating those buildings. And then the renovation of Miami Township and then the main branch, those are, renovation and additions to those projects. Those projects will be, those projects will be occupied, or those buildings will be occupied when we start construction. And similar to Miami Valley Hospital, great care is going to go into protecting the public and making sure our safety programs are in place so that the public and the workers are safe. So there's challenges associated with that, and that's something that we pride ourselves on getting out in front of and making sure that there's a plan in place for those. And then lastly, the Northwest Branch. It is a greenfield site, but there's a substantial amount of site work that goes into that, and anytime you have site work, there's underground challenges that you can uncover. But again, I think all the planning that goes into these projects and all the amount of effort that Tim's talking about, this upfront work, working with the designers, and all the partnerships, I think we'll be able to overcome any of those challenges.
For those viewers who are not familiar with Skanska, can you give us a little background?
Sure. So we've been in the community for 9 years now. We originally came to build Atrium Medical Center in Middletown, Ohio. And that's actually when we partnered with ATCS, which is our joint venture partner currently. That's a 9-year relationship we've had with them, and it's continued on multiple projects in the Dayton region. So this is my home. My wife and I live in the area, and so we're happy to be here, and we've been blessed with multiple opportunities in the area, many with Premier Health, who's been a great partner, great client. And then the Dayton Metro Library has been great to work with as well.
Absolutely. We say it time and again, this project is so exciting for the community. Can each one of you share something that you think will be most beneficial about the library project?
Well, certainly as the discussion we've had, we're making this investment. I think that probably is one of the things in the short term, but I think the unique spaces that people will have, the way in which our library buildings today have been holding us back from being able to accomplish a lot of library important outcomes that we see for the community, about making sure that kids are ready for kindergarten, to make sure that those third graders are ready to read and able to read at their grade level. The workforce development work that we do and the partnering that we do with small businesses, those are all kinds of things that we'll be able to do a better job of, and we'll have a bigger impact in the community because these facilities, these new facilities will really enable us to do a lot more where our previous existing facilities have been holding us back.
Yes.
For me, definitely, it's the inclusion of so many different resources in our community. We have so many talented businesses in our community. I think we'll be able to utilize all of those resources. And secondly, I know you said one thing, but this one is just so critical to me. Oftentimes I'll drive down past the main library, and it's before they're open, and you see lots of people waiting for the library to open. And at one point in time we thought maybe they were homeless individuals, but after sitting through a number of the presentations, Tim said, no, they're not homeless. These are people that need to be able to use the computer. And I think we take for granted that every home has a computer or a smartphone, but many homes do not have computer resources. So I'm really excited about the resources that will be available to everybody in our community.
Yes, all ages.
Yes, all ages.
Adrian.
Well, my children love the library. My wife and I take them frequently. So I kind of have a threefold answer to you. Aesthetically, even though they love the library, the aesthetics, the furniture, the painting, the new designs are just going to be over the top gorgeous at the end of the day. And when you look at renovations that have happened to some of the schools, I mean, the library will be able not only to compete, but look as good, if not better than the schools. The technology that's going to go into it, more computers, more Wi-Fi and those kinds of things where you can get on with your tablet and all those kind of great things. That's going to make it great for my wife and I as the children on the computers navigating. And one thing that that Tim is doing with his staff, I mean, he's already got a great staff in all these libraries, but they're pumping in training to these guys to make them even more better. So you're not just getting a new building, but you're kind of getting a new flavor with his staff. So they'll be more friendly and they'll be more interactive. Am I right about it, Tim?
Yes.
So you're going to have a complete experience from the aesthetics to the staff to the technology. This is a brand new day in a brand new building, a brand new structure, brand new staff. It's going to be fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris.
I think speaking from a construction standpoint, obviously there's a lot of excitement from, it's an economic boost to the community and to the talented subcontractor market that exists in Dayton. So all the work that we've done up till now, forming partnerships and building relationships with everyone here and then the subcontractor community, we'll be able to see fruits of all that labor and just the excitement in general. All these community meetings that we have and just to see the excitement and the passion in the room. I mean, this community is ready for this, they're excited about it, and so to be part of that and to be able to be out in the community and talk about it and say that you're part of that is just really fun for us to be able to say.
Great.
Just to piggyback off of what he said, when we went to the E.C. Dorn first nail ceremony last week, it was so exciting. You had city commissioners, county commissioners, people that just lived in the neighborhood. Your board members were there. It was very, very exciting. I was so excited about it. The new builder, the subcontractor, is Loraro.
Yeah.
And they're actually a minority-owned construction company. So we're excited about getting some new talent into E.C. Dorn.
Oh, yes.
And those community meetings certainly have been really energizing for us and the staff because we get to talk with our residents about their aspirations for the library, not just what's currently going on and how we might be able to improve services, but really talking about what they want for their families, their children, their neighbors, and themselves in their entire community. And this bond issue is really enabling us to make that a reality. And there's very few libraries that have had such a large amount of money to work with to try to make these libraries a reality for our community is a real special opportunity.
What are some of the things that you hear from residents? What are some of the top things that you hear that they want, in their libraries?
The number one thing I always hear from residents when we talk to them, whether it's in the surveys or just talking to them in general, is what can we do to make kids be more successful in school and helping prepare them. And so some of the things that we're talking about, some of the aspirational elements that are in these buildings that as we walk in, some of the things that we will add to the buildings will be more than just the walls and the floors and the bookshelves, but it'll be some of the displays, some of the story room areas, the little stages that we're presenting, the little reading areas that may be off of garden, just off the children's room, the ways in which we're going to be building